So just recently we talked about the Shadow of War cinematic trailer, but with cinematics it's very tough to get a firm grasp of how the game will actually turn out. Luckily, the new Shadow of War gameplay trailer just released and has got me pretty excited, yet also a little worried at the same time. In Shadow of Mordor, I loved the ranger aspect of it and getting to play a character somewhat similar to Aragorn. But it almost seems like in Shadow of War, we're doing what Lord Elrond told Aragorn to do in the third movie, which was put aside the ranger and become who we are born to be. And apparently in both of these characters' cases, that's some kind of a ruler or leader figure. Does it still look fun? Well, of course it does. Yeah, I can't help but get the feeling that they've chosen to go for a multitude of very small strongholds or fortresses, rather than just going for a couple larger scale open world zones. In this case, I really do hope I'm wrong, because as fun as this siege style of gameplay looks, I definitely miss the more stealthy elements and the feeling of openness that the first one had. For me, the best case scenario would be if the game included both the large, vast open areas as well as these dungeon-style forts, because from what I can tell, just about everything else has been improved upon. I mean, the areas shown off on the map look to have a nice bit of variety, even if they appear to be quite small. We get to see some places like Minas Tirith, Osgiliath, the Dead City, Mount Doom, the Eye of Sauron, the Sea of Nirnan, and a few other areas as well. Speaking of variation, the enemies and allies seem to have a lot more of it, as trolls and other large creatures look to be a common enemy throughout these battles. But I can't begin to imagine why on earth any of them are fighting for Talion. Humans I can understand. I'm guessing the orcs must be drawn to this new ring of power, because they don't appear to be affected by Talion's wraith abilities like they had to in the first one. I will say the story behind the various bosses and their history with Talion has got me really excited, because I definitely enjoyed that along with the rest of the Nemesis system in the first one, and from what I can see, they've made some cool improvements to it. Now, it's important to keep in mind that this is alpha gameplay, and many things will most likely change, including the graphics, which almost look a little worse than the ones in the first game. Not that graphics are everything. In fact, this actually gets rid of some of my worries that I had mentioned in a previous video, because I didn't feel that the game had been in development for all that long. However, it definitely looks as though they're using the same engine and graphics, which hopefully means the rest of their focus has gone into more content and a better story. One thing that really caught me by surprise was the amount of customization, which to me wasn't necessary, but I imagine the new armor and weapon customization could make an interesting addition. I'm also willing to bet that with all these new enemies and abilities, we're going to end up with a vast array of ways to conquer forts, such as the one shown here, especially after seeing Talion riding a drake and even taking down fort walls. Once again though, I'm really hoping that to acquire allies for these admittedly linear style sieges, we'll not only need to take down other similar forts, but also travel through large open landscapes or cities and complete quests there. I do get the feeling that these strongholds are more so the boss fights of the game rather than its entirety, especially after hearing that the orcs will customize their own throne rooms to serve as arenas. And so far, all we've seen is the attacking side, so I'm wondering if maybe we'll end up needing to defend forts too. Of course, at this point it's just too early to tell, but it could be a neat concept, and I'm sure it would be very reminiscent of the scenes from Helm's Deep. Though I still think that if it lacks the open world the first one offered, it could fall a bit short, even though these large-scale battles were one of the main things that I thought was missing from the first game. And that's where this really has me undecided, because I feel like they've added most of what I was hoping for, but also maybe took away some of what I loved about the first game. I could be wrong though. Obviously this is just a trailer, and there is a very strong possibility that we just haven't seen the open world element that this game has to offer. And man, I really do hope that that's going to be the case, because if so, this could end up being a really great game. That being said, thanks for watching, guys. I'm sure you saw plenty of things that I might have missed, so feel free to share those down in the comments. And as always, I will see you in the next one.